Just give me a minute.
Yep.
These ain't gonna take but a couple minutes to run through anyway.
Yeah, I love no. It gets crazy the minute I get on 128 and I'm coming back home again.
He's ready with the camera, he's waiting on you.
Somebody coming in after that?
All right, I'd like to call Public Safety Emergency Management to order at 6:15. I have a couple motions tonight to bring forward, three in fact. From the docket of September 6, 2022, I entertain a motion to approve expending funds and any future grant amendments associated with the anticipated receipt of the FY23 9/11 training grant from the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security in the amount of $223,635.54. Money from this grant must be expended no later than June 30th, 2024.
Second.
Second. If you had a chance to read the backup, there is no monies from the city to this. We usually get a grant somewhere around $125,000, $130,000, but there's expanded training this year, and the state is giving us more money so we can do it. And there is some they got to start this pretty quick. I think Kyle did the basic background work on it and is just waiting for us to pass it tonight to make the final ding-dong. Right? From talking to him, the reason it's expanded is they're doing a lot more medical training for the dispatchers, so they know how to handle medical emergencies better. Whereas before it was basically public safety type stuff. Do we have any questions or comments?
No.
Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Thank you. From the docket of September 6, 2022, I entertain a motion to approve the transfer of $50,000 from account 11242410000-578350 citywide reserve for labor negotiations to the following accounts to satisfy a MOA agreement with public safety dispatchers. $23,000, $27,300 to account 121010000-511000 police salary and wages. $22,700 to account 122010000-511000 fire salary and wages.
Second.
Pretty self-explanatory. If we've come to agreement with a contract for our dispatchers, and this is the money that we have to come up with to satisfy that agreement. Any questions, comments?
None from me.
Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you. From the docket of September 6, 2022, I entertain a motion to approve the transfer of $2,600 from account 112410000 578300, citywide reserve fund for transfer to account 1210100-558330, police copier, to purchase a refurbished copier for the police department.
Second.
I talked to Kyle on this too, and he said this copier being refurbished is like buying a new one for a lot less money, and he figures he can get a lot of use out of it. And he mentioned something about a new one not only costing more money, but the availability isn't immediate like everything else you try to buy today. So, any questions or comments?
I have a question. It says
Sure.
here that we've been leasing the machine, I guess because of a backlog, major delays in supply, for about $200 a month. Do you know how long we've been leasing it?
I gotta put my ears on, speak up a
Oh,
little.
I'm sorry. Do you know how long we've been leasing the machine for $200 a month for this machine?
I really don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. He said this is the fastest way out of it, and they're in dire need of a copier.
And they're applying that, it looks like, to the cost, the total cost of the machine. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. That's the only question I had.
I thought it was pretty reasonable for a refurbished machine. I would imagine. I don't know.
It's the same one they've been using, though.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
but
the same one. Yeah, but they've been renting it.
Yeah, they've been renting it, and the rent money, or the rent they've been paying, is going towards the purchase price.
Okay, great.
So, any other comments, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, that's all the business I have this evening for public safety emergency management. Move to adjourn at 6:21.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you very much. Did you look in the book? No, I did. Can I do this? Oh, this is...
Meeting of the Municipal Council to order at 6:30. Please join me for a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and welcome back to a regular schedule. Hope everyone enjoyed their summer. Welcome back, Councilor Blair.
Thank you.
Glad to have you back. I entertain a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Dolan. We're going to suspend the rules tonight because we will not be doing any public hearings as it is a primary night. So this requires a voice vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We are joined, and we started early this evening because we are joined by a special guest, for which the introduction I will recognize Councilor DeSimone.
Thank you, President Lucio, and thank you for entertaining the guest. So I have had the pleasure and experience, like many of you, to engage with the Attleboro YMCA, which is an outstanding community organization led for many years by Robin McDonald. Well, several months ago, the Y got a new CEO, which you all may be aware of. His name is Courtney Harness, and I've been doing some stuff with Courtney outside of council stuff, and he's an awesome guy, I think a great new leader for the Y, and I asked him if he wanted to come and just introduce himself to everybody here, because most of you, I'm sure you've all been to the Y and engaged in one way or another, but he just wanted to give an update about who he is and his vision for the Y as they continue to be a real hub in the community. So, Courtney, come on up, say hello.
Thanks very much. And thank you all for having me. I will be brief and then provide an opportunity if anyone has any specific questions about the work that we do or plan to do in the next year or two. I'd love to answer those for you all. So I'll start by saying thanks, and I am a new Attleboro resident along with my family as of, well, technically March 8th. We moved into our home on Old Farm Lane on April the 1st. Both of my girls will be in Attleboro Public Schools. In a few more years, we're a ways off of that. But I'm very interested in how this council works, how the city government will work for us, and I appreciate your time and energy and effort personally before the YMCA, so thank you. I've worked for the YMCA nationally for about 16 years, so in the state of Massachusetts, spent about 5 years in Springfield, just about 2 years in the city of Boston prior to coming to Attleboro. I fell in love with the Y in Springfield, really in direct service, in programming, mainly in health and wellness, where I was able to really understand the impact that the YMCA has on a community. And so when I found out last year, July, August, that Robin was leaving the Y, I thought, what an incredible fit, a great community, a community like a couple of others that I've lived in and worked in before, and a YMCA with a really solid reputation and foundation for the work that we're able to do alongside community. And so as we transitioned, Robin leaving as my predecessor and me transitioning in, Robin and I talked a lot about how I would put my stamp on the Y. And so what I want to tell you tonight is that the Y is not mine to put a stamp on, it's yours. And so my job is to put your stamp on the Y for our community. And that's really important to me. It's really important that we all work together, that we collaborate and that we partner to make sure that we don't just exist in a building on North Main Street for people to go in and out of, that we exist to make sure that we're working in partnership with the people that we live with to fulfill community needs. And so with that, I'm a little bit of a Y historian and a little bit of maybe a dreamer, but I always go to a quote from Bill Gates when I talk about my vision for the Y, and the quote is what Gates said, is that we have a tendency to severely underestimate what we can accomplish in 10 years, but we have a tendency to overestimate the things that we can accomplish in one. And so I'm here for the 10-year vision. I'm here for the hopes and dreams, to ask you all and the people that live with us, what do we want our community to look like, and how does the Y play a role in making that happen? And we're going through a strategic planning process right now, our strategic plan that will be implemented in the years 2023 to 2025. Some of you may or may not know our last strategic plan was really heavily focused on physical facility, physical plant, what that would look like, what that would potentially mean for Attleboro, Norton, and Rehoboth, the cities and towns that we serve. I have a feeling as we go through some of our insights and uncover some information from our community that our next strategic plan is going to be heavily focused on children and families and how we provide more and how we be more for folks. And so that said, we've gotten a little bit of a head start over the summer months on some of those programs. And so I want to just mention a few of those to you briefly. I should say the Y here in Attleboro has existed for 154 years. And so we plan on making sure that it's around at least another 154. So long after we're gone, someone can stand here and talk about how we'll continue to partner together. And so the first thing I want to talk about, actually, part of it existed in this building and in the mayor's office and right next door. We were able to partner with the Transformational Development Initiative over the summer to offer an experience for young people that we called City Camp. And so I think everyone knows what the TDI is, a function of mass development, which is an agency that I really respect and we work very closely with. The partnership with TDI for City Camp was a way for us to engage young people in their community so that they can walk from the Y and understand a number of different options and a number of different things that are available to them downtown. And so we brought kids to City Hall, to the mayor's office, to the police department. We brought kids to Ronin Jiu-Jitsu and Kimochi. We brought kids to Burgundian, Double ACS, Bristol Community College, and the Attleboro Area Industrial Museum. And so our vision for the communities that we exist in is that young people understand where they live, that young people are proud of it, they can learn what happens and what goes on, and they can feel like they can access it at any time. And so we had about 16 kids participate. I kind of ran into them at Kimochi on accident one day and got to see them all making their own bubble tea or boba drinks. And so they had a great time. And I do want to say to this group, for those of you that participated or were able to help and facilitate that, that's the very first time. It's not the last time. And we're excited to expand that next year and understand that goes a long way to fulfilling our mission to strengthen communities. So kids go home and tell their parents they went to the Industrial Museum and had a great time, and then they go back and they learn more. And I think that's important. I'm sure most of you have heard about our program that we do in partnership with Attleboro Public Schools for second graders, learning how to swim at the Y for free. And so recently, it started with one school, started with Willett, obviously really easy to walk to North Main Street from Willett. And we actually this week have expanded that to all 5 elementary schools in the district. So every second grader in the Attleboro Public District will have the opportunity to learn how to swim over an 8-week curriculum at the YMCA with transportation provided. That's partial cost incurred on our behalf, partial grant funding from 2 national organizations, YMCA of the USA and USA Swimming, and some funding from the school district as well. And that is such an important opportunity for us to provide, one, most importantly, so that kids don't drown. I think that's number one. But number 2, the types of skills that learning how to swim fosters in second graders in particular, a lot of research done on that particular age group in terms of critical thinking, socialization, teamwork, following instructions and listening to directions. It's a critically important time for young people to learn that skill. And so what we've done is say that's one thing that we will make a stand on in our community, is that every child of that age in our public school system will have an opportunity to learn how to swim at the Y for free. I hope that most people don't know this because it's brand new this week, but Sturdy has been a partner of ours for a number of years in a physical therapy space on the lower level of the YMCA on North Main Street. And in June, I had some great conversation with the new leadership of Sturdy to better understand what that partnership looked like and how we could have a deeper, more meaningful impact on the community rather than, so for those of you that have gone through physical therapy in that space, I'm sure it was transformational for you. But how can we have a more lasting impact on our community? And so the solution that we came up with was to turn that space into a teen center. And so that space, starting as of last week, is now a teen center fully functioning with a paid staff person by the YMCA that will provide not only a safe, fun, and engaging place, but also the opportunity for young people to learn and develop some skills or have access to some things that they may not have. I know Congressman Auchincloss has been a really big supporter of ours in his Healthy 3 to 10 initiative, and that's really where we're focused, especially with a new high school less than a mile from our location. How can we act and function as an extension of that school? And so what we've done is really provide some almost early entry opportunities for young people in that space relative to robotics, coding, a lot of STEM and STEAM. But I think the thing I'm most proud of in the partnership with Sturdy is a new program that we're calling the Honors Program. And what we're doing through the Honors Program is giving teens, high school students, the opportunity to earn a free membership at the YMCA. And the way they'll earn it, and I'll give you 3 of the 5 things because they're important. We know the number one success factor in graduating high school on time is attendance. So we've actually partnered with the high school to make sure that we have access to students' attendance records. And if students fulfill an attendance requirement, that's one piece of the 5 pieces to earning a free membership. The second piece is 1 hour a month of community service and community volunteer hours, trying to make young people really understand how the importance of them being involved in their community and being engaged civically. And then the last one, of course, is engagement in a number of other YMCA programs or activities. So that we're really trying to make sure that high school students in particular, in a time where they may get out of school and have nothing to do until a certain time, feel like they can go somewhere and be a part of something. And so we're really happy for that and look forward to the growth of those programs. And lastly, our after-school program that's operating at Pleasant Street, for those of you with school-age children, you know that, and I may butcher the name, Abacus in Attleboro Public Schools was actually full before the 4th of July for this school year. And so we partnered with the school district again to offer after-school programming in particular for all 5 schools. Right now we have a wait list of about 40. And that wait list, believe it or not, is not staffing, is not anything relative to space or time or money. We can't get buses to bring kids to the Y. Not that we don't want to pay for it or that we can't pay for it. We just can't get a bus company to drive kids to the Y. It's been a pain point for parents. So you all know we have staff members at the Y who are leaving their work shift in mid-afternoon to go get their kids and drive them to the Y. We've told parents that we'll actually care for their children for free until we solve the bus situation, as long as they have a way to get their child to the Y. So we're highly committed to this after-school childcare dilemma that I think a lot of parents and families are facing. And I'll be honest, probably struggling a little bit right now to figure out a solution. And then the last thing, and I've got a few minutes left so we can answer any questions briefly, just wanted to touch on a very light start to a hopefully good partnership with the Council on Aging over the next few years. Worked really closely with the team there to provide access to our pool at the downtown location, something I think most of you know doesn't exist obviously at the current location. Had some good conversation when there was some need for food delivery services a month or two ago and how we could leverage a van that we have and the robust built out services that we already offer there. I would say the number one thing that we're doing in partnership with the COA or with any other local nonprofits is really making sure we're not stepping on toes or trying to duplicate services, but instead support services and programs and initiatives that we know are meaningful and will serve the community maybe in a way that we can't or that we don't have the capacity to immediately. So with my last 2 minutes, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Well, I just want to thank you for coming down. I appreciate you talking about the Council on Aging. That was something that I wanted to bring up to you. I think there's a great opportunity for, as you said, a light, but starting out baby steps partnership. I think it'll be really impactful, really meaningful. Someone whose family's been a member of the Y since we moved here back in 2004. I appreciate the work. Certainly appreciate you coming down tonight. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Briefly?
briefly.
Thank you, Courtney. I love that the Y is such a collaborator. You bring so much value. And what the president, as the president said, we don't want to duplicate services, but the Y is great at complementing. So I look forward to many and more collaborations between the Y and different organizations in the city. So thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Courtney, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you all for having me.
Thank you very much.
All right, and the other reason we started the meeting early is I've asked DPW Superintendent Mike Tyler to join us, if Mike would be so kind to join us at the podium. I want to talk a little bit about some of the improvements down at Rathbun Village. So Mike, good to see you as always.
President Delisio, members of the City Council, and City Clerk Jackson. I do have to say, please excuse me tonight if I'm not totally with it. It's been a long weekend helping my son get moved into his off-campus deal in Narragansett. So I made good decisions by not taking 95 home. I'm taking 295. But the bad decision was I left my sunroof open in my vehicle all weekend. So when I got in this morning to bring my son to high school, my cup was overflowing with water. So it was just a very long morning. So please excuse that. So President Delisio, with I would say with your thought, and I'd like to do it in a four-pronged process, if I will. I'd like to explain to you what the project entailed originally, where we stand today, what needs to be further completed, and then open it up to the City Council for any questions they may have concerning that. So I think I stood in front of you in February when the City Council approved a $1.6 million improvement project at Rathbun Village Drive and Thatcher Street. It was performed for the main reason there probably should have been a traffic light put there many years ago once Brennan School was put in. But there definitely had to be one now that there was a reopening of Rathbun Village Drive, a street that's been closed for over 60 years. Anybody that's taken that road, both my sons went to both of those schools, so I'm sure a lot of you know what we're talking about. You're kind of taking your life in your hands trying to get out of that intersection. Even if somebody gave you a break, didn't mean the opposite vehicle was not going to give you the same courtesy, if you will. So what have we done in that time? It was a very tight timeline. It was a 3-month project, a little over 3 months. It was probably done in probably the worst heat wave that this New England has ever seen. So I have to recognize Pawtucket Hot Mix on this. They were the general contractor. David Walsh, the owner of Pawtucket Hot Mix. Mike Riccardi was the job superintendent. We had Daigle Electric. And of course, I want to thank my support crew that I have for my force, and especially my assistant superintendent, Bobby Ruggio. We made a decision with the city, with the mayor, not to have an engineering company be the day-to-day supervision of this project. It saved the city $70,000 by us being able to do that every day. It was a job that we felt we could handle, and we could make decisions on the spot instead of waiting to go through the whole process. And I think it went very successful. So that's the good part. So the lights are operational. The bad parts are what we have to do moving forward. So to get the intersection operational for the opening of the school, we were not able to get the cameras that are supposed to be in place full-time. So the cameras that currently are at the intersection of County Square and at Rathbun Road are temporary cameras. What does that mean? It means they're not as smart as the cameras that we ordered. The ones that we ordered are the newest technology. Most of the traffic lights in this city, if you'll see, they're run by what they call vehicle detection loops. Those are wires put in the roadway. It detects a vehicle there. It tells the light somebody's there, so signaling to, make the eye pass. These are not. These are very advanced. These are cameras. So last thing we wanted to do is, by putting this light in, is we created a traffic backup at County Square after all the hard work had been done years ago to alleviate that. Unfortunately, these lights do not give us that capability. These cameras, I should say. The hope is, well, we had to make a decision. What are we going to do? So my decision was put up the cameras and get them working now. It's important the school open and have this camera system up. And we will wait for the new ones. We received word that it could be 2 to 3 weeks more. The project deadline was 2 Fridays ago. But I will say everybody pushed and pushed and pushed. Those lights did not come on until 5:15 on the Friday that was the deadline. So every effort went put into having this thing fully operational. It just wasn't a reality. I've given the contractor, right now I told him if I do not see those in a week and a half, they do have the hardware to get County Square working, but they'd like to do it all in one shot, obviously. Those cameras would have to be changed when school is either out of school or off the peak hours. So basically, we would say once school is open and running from its 9:30 to 1:30, that would give them the opportunity to get out in the street with their bucket trucks, replace the cameras or whatever, but we're not willing to risk having them do that during school open. It'd just be crazy. So we're waiting on that. Unfortunately, it's a supply and demand issue. We can beat the drum as hard as we want, they're just not available. Sad news. That also brings me to the point of, I've been out there every day almost, taking down timings, adjustment, things that I see that could be better. I think I stood in front of this council in February and said, give us a month after they're up and give us time to adjust, see what the traffic flow is. Well, to know Z, you need to know what X and Y is. Right now, we don't know what X is because we don't have cameras operating the way they're supposed to. We don't know what Y is because the high school's not finished. The traffic pattern over there in the morning is not conductive at the time, and it probably won't be until the high school is finished. So without those two factors, for us to be making suggestions on how we should be doing the timing, it's kind of impossible. There's some things that we can do right now during the off hours that I've seen where we can do small adjustments, but we have to realize that right now the city of Attleboro does not own these lights. These are owned by the general contractor. So I have no right to go in that box and do anything. The only time the city of Attleboro is when the keys are handed over to us, when the engineering company stamps these lights as the certified lights operating the way that the engineering company designed, and the adjustments being made that we asked to be made. That's part of the contractual language. So with that, we did notify the police department. The police chief does know, the mayor does know. I wanted this whole city council to know. And the police department has been told if there's anything that happened to those lights, they had to call the chief directly. The chief calls me directly. Again, we just don't want somebody with good intentions going into something that we're not, because that gets us in trouble. We want to make sure that we're putting the onus on them. They're their lights right now until we're signed off. You'll see logistical concerns. I want to address some of those before the questions are. Coming out of Black Oak, there is when your light turns green, you can actually turn right, and then actually you see this red arrow that kind of confuses you about whether or not you should be able to turn into Rathbone Drive. That red arrow is only for Route 123 traffic. It's not for Black Oak. But the appearance when you're in a vehicle pulling into that is definitely. So we're going to see if we can angle that light a little bit more to the left. But it's a different traffic pattern. It also, because of the timing of that intersection, I know we originally spoke about not having a light at Black Oak. The residents did not agree with that at all, justifiably so. But when you add a light, everything's timing. It takes seconds away from other things. The last thing we want to do is have 123 backed up, so you're trying to steal seconds from one thing and add it to another. It's very difficult to do. It's very difficult to do, but it's not impossible. The other concern was, like I said, when you're coming out of Black Oak and you have a green light, when the pedestrian button is pushed on Route 123 to cross, you actually still have your green light. So now you have a green light exiting Black Oak, and then there could be people standing right in that crosswalk. That, to me, in speaking with the chief too, is like unacceptable. We need to find a way to steal those seconds from somewhere. That's a dangerous situation waiting to happen. The crossing guard, as much as she's doing her due diligence and trying to keep everybody safe, she's seen people walk down the sidewalk and she's pushing the button on Route 123. So as soon as she pushes that button, it causes the whole new cycle to come over instead of waiting for the walkers to come down to the actual intersection. So these are things we're working on, but I will say, I asked you for a month, and I'm going to say it's going to take a little bit longer. Until we get those cameras up, we're kind of working in the blind here a little bit. These cameras can be adjusted. They just, instead of the metal loops being in the roadway, it forms a box on the camera. And that box, we can expand it, we can shrink it down. There's a lot of things we can do with that, but until we actually know the traffic pattern that's actually happening here, we don't know what that is. The last thing I want to do is be changing all these timings only to find out it doesn't make any sense to do so a month later. So again, I'm just trying to let everybody know. I know there's been a lot of questions and concerns. I know one woman actually received a warning for turning over there on Black Oak. And I'm taking a right and then, going onto Rathburn Road Drive, and she was doing that under my direction. So it made it even worse. So, again, there's going to be, number one reason why these lights were put up is to get people safely out of these intersections. You can't forget that. Convenience is about number 10 on our list. Okay, safety is number 1. There's not been an accident there since we put the lights up. There's probably a little bit too long of a cycle on 123. We realize that. We got people waiting 80 seconds sometimes at Rathburn Road Drive to pull out when there's nothing coming. There's people waiting to turn into Rathburn Road Drive off of 123, and they have a red light, which is a red arrow. We're thinking about changing that to like a yellow arrow like we have down at South Ave and at Tiffany Street. So if there's nothing coming at you at 123, you can take the turn, just be cautious. So there's a lot of little things we've kept track of that I think we can do to improve this. But when I open the question thing up for everybody, I do ask all of the city council 2 things. Show a little patience. We'll all get there. We're all on the same page. We all want this to be the best thing, that we can for this kid. And number 2, if you hear a concern, just email it to me, call me, or something. Let us write it down. So when we're actually sitting there with the engineers a month from now and we're talking about what we have to do, we can capture all of it. I'm only capturing what I see. Thousands of people watching the thing can capture much more. But I will say, we can't fall into the trap of people saying it's just inconveniencing them in a certain way. Okay, that's the reality to be. This is about public safety. And again, until the high school is done, and we see what those traffic patterns are, we're really not going to have a good picture on this.
Well, Mike, I appreciate you coming down tonight. Really appreciate the proactive manner in which you're approaching this and making sure that the police chief knows, the mayor knows, and you come in front of the council. I think we're seeing the impact that the supply chain issues are having. But, I will say this. You talk about someone as a leader who's hands-on. The week leading up to school, my son had cross-country practice at different times throughout the day. I'm driving down there, and there's Mike Tyler on the site working with his team. And, personally, I appreciate that. I just want to thank you, and I know I'll work with Councilor Bennett to have you come back in a couple weeks, provide an update in front of her committee. But just want to thank you for coming down tonight. I'll open up for a couple questions if we have any from the council. Councilor Dolan?
Thank you. I think you guys did a great job, because the times that I went down there during the construction, it wasn't horrible. I thought it was going to be horrible, because as soon as I saw it, I was like, why did I come this way? But you guys, you really did a great job, and you handling the information regarding not hiring the engineer. I think you guys did great, in considering it was 150 degrees. So I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for that. I just want to remind the council that when we did the traffic council on this to try to design the timing pattern for these lights, it was during COVID. It was impossible. Matter of fact, Mass DOT now has changed their standards. Any new projects that are coming across, I believe, their traffic counts have to reflect in February 2022. So they won't even accept it, because they know those traffic counts meant absolutely nothing. So again, I think we're all good at math. We all want to figure this thing out, but without the known variables, it's basically impossible at this time.
Yep. That's a great point. Thank you. Councilor Holmes?
Thank you. I just want to echo what you had mentioned. On the first day of school, I saw you out there, and I loved that. Your whole team was kind of out there to look at the light and watch the traffic patterns, and I think it really makes a difference how involved you've been. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Councilor Bennett?
Mike, thank you so much for coming down tonight. I know you and I have been in sort of constant communications. I live in the neighborhood right by Black Oak, and so I see every day the changes that have happened, the impact to the residents, to the neighbors in the area, and I'm hearing from them personally. I want to say thank you for all of your communication, for being open to hearing the suggestions from the neighbors, the potential issues, and reiterate, please, if anyone hears anything, any kind of issues that pop up, any suggestions that you have, please definitely funnel those through, because I know Mike takes them all in and considers them all and looks at ways to improve this. So thank you so much for that.
All right. Mike, thanks again for coming down. Thank you to you and your entire crew for really the hard work I look forward to the continuous updates, and, you hit the nail on the head. You're not going to know about some of the little idiosyncrasies until you're knee-deep in the project. So it's going to happen, and I think it's safe to say that you have the support of the council for more than a month.
I appreciate that, and we want it to be a very positive process. It was long overdue, and I guess this will make ex-President Mark Cooper not want to come back to the council now. I'm glad that he said that. But again, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank you. Look forward to following up. All right. I move to approve the records of August 16th and 18th of 2022.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We will now have a reading of the mayor's communication. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President. September 6, 2022. Dear municipal councilors, I respectfully request to amend Chapter 9 licenses and permits of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro by adding Section 9-48 Humane Pet Store.
We'll waive the reading on a lot of these just because it is quite wordy, but we'll refer that to ordinances, elections, legislative matters. And Kathleen, would you like to call for a public hearing on October 4th?
Sounds good, thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
For your information, I regret to inform your honorable body that we have received the resignation of Stephen Burdos from the Council on Human Rights. Please join me in thanking Mr. Burdos for his service to the city.
That's just an FYI.
I hereby request your honorable body to schedule a public hearing pursuant to Section 16-2.2 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro as amended to lay out a portion of Road Street.
That'll go to zoning and land use. And Council Holmes, would you like to call for a public hearing on October 4th?
Please.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
I hereby request your honorable body to schedule a public hearing pursuant to Section 16-2.2 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro as amended to lay out Steeplechase Circle.
That will also go to zoning and land use. And Council Holmes, would you like to call for a public hearing on October 4th?
Please.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
I respectfully submit a communication from Director of Budget and Administration, Jeremy Stull, requesting to amend Section 10-13, parking capacity and designation of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro.
I will also refer that to ordinances, elections, legislative matters. Councilor DeSimone, would you like to call for a public hearing on 10-18?
10:18, sounds good, thank you.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
I respectfully submit a communication from Attleboro Public Schools Director of Finance, Mark Furtado, regarding the following fiscal year 2022 obligations that were not received in time to be processed in the normal fiscal year 22 business cycle.
Can you just read the last sentence?
Yes.
Thank you.
Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to authorize the school department to pay these previous year school bills totaling $4,781.53 as identified in Mr. Furtado's communication. Copies in your packets.
Thank you. Finance Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Legal Secretary Allison Wood regarding items that the Assessor's Office would like to declare as surplus. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to declare the following as surplus and available for disposition. Copies in your packets. 1 gray fabric office chair in poor condition, 1 black fabric office chair in poor condition.
City Property and Claims, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Legal Secretary Allison Wood regarding items that the MIS Department would like to declare as surplus. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to declare the following as surplus and available for disposition. Copies in your packets. 2 blue fabric chairs in poor condition, 1 black leather chair, fair to poor condition.
City Property and Claims, please.
For your information, I regret to inform your honorable body that we have received the resignation of Mac Borgelis from the Council on Human Rights. Please join me in thanking Mr. Borgelis for his service to the city.
It's an FYI, please.
I respectfully request your honorable body to transfer $345 from account 1124100-5783000 Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account 1124100-5782020 Citywide bills from previous years in order to pay a fiscal year 22 invoice to SS Service Corp.
Finance Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from the Director of Planning and Development, Gary Arasian, regarding the petition of the City of Attleboro to rezone a portion of the Assessors Plat 115, Lot 1, and Plat 127, Lot 1, a.k.a. Highland Park, Highland Country Club, located along Rathbun-Willow Drive, Mechanic Street, and Berwick Road from Single Residence D to General Business. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body call for a joint public hearing with the planning board to rezone a portion of Assessors Plat 115, Lot 1, and Plat 127, Lot 170 from Single Residence D to General Business.
Zoning and land use, please. And Council Holmes, would you like to call for a joint public hearing on October 18th?
Please.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
I respectfully submit a communication from Director of Planning and Development, Gary Arasian, regarding the 2022 SNEP Watershed Grant. The Department of Planning and Development, in collaboration with the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management and NEIWPCC, have submitted an application for Southeast New England Program, SNEP, 2022 Watershed Implementation Grant for the removal and eradication of a nuisance water chestnut in the 10 Mile River watershed, more specifically Dodgeville Pond. Included with the grant application was a letter of support from the city and the commitment to provide a local cash match of $20,000. Therefore, I respectfully ask your honorable body to transfer $20,000 from account 11241000-578300 Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to 11241000-599200 Citywide Transfer to Grant, and to further transfer $20,000 from account 11241000-599200 Citywide Transfer to Grant to Fund 2344 M4-499700 SWIG EPA Municipal Distribution. Phew.
Nice job. That was a lot. Public Works, please.
Sincerely, Paul Hero, Mayor.
And Madam Clerk, are there any further communications?
Yes, sir, there is. We have the clerk's communication dated Tuesday, September 6, 2022. Received a letter from Juliet Texera, 5 Hannah Road, regarding safety concerns with the removal of Snell Street traffic lights.
Traffic and Transportation, please.
We received a letter from Martha Ianese Conti, 100 Berwick Road, in opposition of giving the property owners of 27-39 South Main Street a TIF of $1.28 million.
Finance Committee, please.
We received a letter from Martha Ianese Conti, 100 Berwick Road, in opposition to allow marijuana businesses in GB districts and opposed to allowing more than 5 to 6 such businesses within the city of Attleboro.
Zoning and Land Use, please.
We received a request from Massachusetts Electric, DBA National Grid, and Verizon New England, Inc. to relocate poles and raise wires on Hazel Street Extension to accommodate roadway layout changes and truck traffic.
Public Works, please.
We received a request from Massachusetts Electric, DBA National Grid, and Verizon New England, Inc. to relocate one Joe pole on Dunham Street beginning at a point approximately 20 feet south of the center line of the intersection of Pine Street. Relocate pole number 5102 from one side of the road to the other with anchor.
Public Works, please.
We received a joint letter from the Attleboro Firefighters Local 848 and Attleboro Police Association Max Cop Local 352 for the second time regarding the American Rescue Plan Act, requesting a sit-down meeting with all levels of the city administration.
Public Safety, please.
That concludes my communications.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I would now entertain a motion to enter into Committee of the Whole.
Second.
Thank you, Vice President Kovas. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Does anybody have any wish to address the council on any piece of city business? Mr. Rhodes, anything? I would entertain a motion to arise from Committee of the Whole.
Second.
Thank you, Vice President Kovas. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We will now go into committee reports, and this week we will start with Councilor Blair.
Thank you for the indulgence, Mr. President. I hope to be here for the complete meeting, but I'm really not sure, so
Totally understand.
thank you. From the docket of September 6, 2022, I entertain a motion to approve expending funds in any future grant amendments associated with an anticipated receipt of the FY 23 9/11 training grant from the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security for $223,635.54, money from this grant must be expended no later than June 30th, 2024.
Second.
Thank you, Vice President Cobus. Motion is in order. Any comments?
I went over this a little bit ago in committee, but it's, there's no money from the city, and it's extraordinary amount this year because of the amount of actual training that they're gonna do over there to get the dispatchers up to date on the medical side of 911. And it's great to have it. There's no such thing as too much training,
Agreed.
so I think it's great.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Waterman.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Vice President Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
From the docket of September 6, 2022, I entertain a motion to transfer $50,000 for account 1124100-578350, Citywide Reserve Fund for Labor Negotiations, to the following accounts to satisfy the MOA agreement with the public safety dispatchers. $27,300 to account 12100-51100, police salary and wages. $22,700 to account 1220100-5110, fire salary and wages.
Second.
Thank you, Vice President Cobus. Any comments?
It's contractual. We need the money to satisfy the contract that was negotiated with that
Okay, very good.
union.
Any additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Vice President Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
Thank you very much. From the docket of September 6, 2022, I entertain a motion to approve the transfer of $2,600 from account 1124100-578300, Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account 1210000-558330, police copiers, to purchase a refurbished copier for the police department.
Second.
Thank you, Vice President Cobus. Motion is in order. Any comments?
We talked about it at length an hour ago.
Okay, thank you. Any additional question, comments, concerns? Seeing none, we'll have roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Waterman.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Vice President Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds? Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes,
President Delicio?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
thank you, Mr. President. That's all the business I have to bring forward tonight, and I request a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you, sir, and welcome back again. Councilor DeSimone.
Oh, all right.
We'll just keep going this way.
Let's
Switch it
go.
up. Rules are
I'm all
suspended.
for it.
Let's
I'm
go.
wide awake, ready to
Let's go.
Reporting for ordinances, elections, and legislative matters. I have 4 motions this evening. From the docket of July 19th, 2022, I entertain a motion to approve the amendment proposal for Section 7-9.
Yeah, we may waive the reading.
Second.
Oh, thank you.
Councilor Holmes. Motion is in order. Any comments?
First of all, thank you for letting me waive the reading. I apologize for not asking for that. I think it's fairly straightforward. I think it's awesome, actually, and
Can you give a high-level overview just for those watching at home exactly what we
Oh,
do?
sure, yes, thank you. So what we're seeking to do with this amendment is to essentially increase the fines for illegal dumping, which is happening, from what I understand from the police chief, at certain different sections of the city, and we're installing cameras and whatnot. But there's some significant issues in that area, so we're increasing the fines, number 1. And number 2, adding the police department as an enforcement agency in addition to the health department because of the nature and degree to this, of some of this dumping. So I think it's, I think it's good, and I hope it's effective.
Thank you. Additional questions, comments, concerns on this? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone.
Yes.
Mr. Angelo.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Vice President Cobus.
Yes.
Ms. Bennett.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
President Delicio.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of June 21st, 2022, I entertain a motion to approve the amendments to Section 16-11 of the city ordinances, and I would like to ask to waive the reading of that.
Second.
Second.
Yeah, we will definitely waive the 3-page reading.
Appreciate it. Much appreciated.
All right, thank you, motion's in order. Any comments?
So, as you may remember, just to recap, this pertains to a communication from the city, is it the finance team, and the name escapes me, several months ago, pertaining to the city's ability to to waive the fees, lien fees, I think it was, I'm totally misremembering what they did here, but this came down from the finance team. It has to do with waiving I think they were lien fees, right? Forgive me. But the water superintendent did testify to this effect. This is basically just clearing the way, because we need to then follow up to this is to adapt a certain Mass General law that works in operation with this. So it's pretty straightforward. The water superintendent not only came to the council, but she followed up with an email addressing some of the concerns that were raised.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Waterman.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Ms. Bennett.
Yes.
Vice President Cobus.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Mr. Angelo.
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Delicio.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of June 21st, 2022, I move to approve the following, I move to approve amendments to sections 7-13.6 and 7-19.6.
Second.
Thank you, Vice President Cobus. Councilor DeSimone.
Yeah, and for the record, I think if I remember correctly, that I read those proposed amendments at the last hearing, because they're relatively short. Okay, so this pertains to two things. One, a piece of business was in my committee for some time, and two, the plastic food containers and straw amendments that were passed by us, I think it was last summer. So what I'm seeking to do here, because I emphasize again that based upon my understanding after several communications with the health department, there have been no fines assessed nor any exemptions requested. However, in light of the ongoing pandemic effects and supply chain issues, what I'm seeking to do here is to extend the exemption period for establishments that have a need. Just trying to respect the business that was submitted and giving businesses the opportunity. So this would be in effect until January 1st of 2023, or December 31st of 2022.
Okay, thank you. Questions, comments, concerns? Councilor Holmes.
Thank you. So it looks like, is there a typo then? Because it says January 1st. Oh, no, 2022, so it's
Yeah.
until then, okay.
Yeah, not changing the effective date, just extending the exemption period to a year from the effective date.
Councilor Bennett.
Just one quick clarification question. I noticed in the amended version, it specifies may exempt a food and beverage establishment. Does this include grocery stores?
I'd have to look back to the definition of food and beverage establishments, but, and you know, first of all, the straws or containers or both?
For the plastic containers.
I don't know that term was defined in the original ordinance, and I can't recall.
I believe the original
But
was
I-
retail establishments.
Huh?
The original
I think it
version was retail
I believe
establishments.
so, I believe so. But I would say this, the degree to which, I mean, if they're using plastic containers, I don't know why, it wouldn't apply to them. But to be honest with you, Council Ben, I don't want to go on a limb. I'd have to check the ordinances. If you want to set this aside for a minute, I could check the definition. I do not have it in front of me, but I can't recall.
So I think there were, Councilor Reynolds.
Wouldn't a grocery store be considered retail to some degree, honestly? I mean,
It looks like it's changed from retail establishment to a food and beverage establishment.
Yeah, I changed it for the sake of consistency. I didn't in any ways intend to expand the definition or understanding. It was just for consistency between the ordinances. But it's my understanding this is primarily for like restaurants and people who serve like to-go food, Cumberland Farms, restaurants, et cetera, takeout, if you will.
Thank you.
So if I may, my understanding with the original, grocery stores were exempt with the styrofoam in some of the bags. However, I think my concern would be, what's the impact on their takeout meals? They have a lot of prepared meals. Is that going to impact them there? I think we do have time, Councilor DeSimone,
Yep.
if you'd like to have Vice President Cobus pull back to second, and we can take this up again in 2 weeks.
Well, I'm more than willing to change it back to the original language. My goal was to clarify, not confuse,
Sure.
or to expand at all. So, so you're referring, I think, Council Bennett, to 7-13.6?
Yes.
Then I will certainly move to, I can strike that food and beverage and change it back to retail establishment to avoid any confusion.
Second.
Any comments on the amendment? Okay. All those in favor on the amendment?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, back to the motion as amended.
Thank you, and thank you for that question, Council Bennett. Again, it wasn't my intention to expand it, it was just consistency. No, President Delicio, I think I've discussed this matter a few times now, so.
Okay. Any additional questions, comments, concerns from the council?
Are we going to change that in 713.6 over at 2, also where it says a food or beverage?
7-4, Council Brown?
If you look on page 9,
No, that's consistent with the
that's
original.
consistent with the original one? I couldn't remember. Okay.
Before we vote, I do want to just thank Councilor DeSimone for looking into it and trying to split the proverbial baby, so I do appreciate that. If there are no other questions, comments, concerns, we'll have a roll call vote beginning with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Vice President Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Nolan?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes,
11 yeas, 0 nays.
thank you, motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you. From the docket of April 19th, 2022, I move to approve the proposed amendment to Chapter 7 Health Department of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro pertaining to plastic shot bottle waste reduction, and I would ask to waive a reading.
Second.
Granted. Thank you, Vice President Cobus. Motion is in order. Any comments?
Yes, I would just remind everybody that the version you're now seeing includes the amendment that was made in committee as it pertains to the effective date. And I'll emphasize again, for the record and for those who weren't here or didn't have time to watch the hearing, that I made this amendment in regard to the effective date because some of the concerns that we heard previously, both this time with this proposed piece of business and the last time, was that this is more the purview of the state and we're hurting small businesses and we want to wait and see what the state does. Well, lo and behold, it's a year later and the state has done nothing, despite the fact that there is at least one pretty viable proposed amendment to the bottle bill. And I fully appreciate the impacts to the liquor store establishments. I get that. I'm in regular contact with one particular manager or owner who's been following this. I appreciate it. However, I'm just kind of tired of kicking the can down the road. So my goal here is to put pressure upwards where the pressure belongs, because I do believe the state should amend the bottle bill after 40 years. I do believe that's the way to go at that level, that it would be most effective. And what we could potentially accomplish here is actually a much bigger impact than just banning nips in Attleboro, because the bottle bill is statewide. I am willing, you'll note that the language I used here retained the original effective date put in by the administration of January 1st of 2023. I'm willing to entertain a motion to give that even to June of 2023, to give it a full year, almost a full year, to see if this happens, because I'm pretty optimistic that the bottle bill will pass, but I do think that as many nudges and cracks in the wall as we can give it to make it so would go a long way. So that's the nature of that amendment and my reason for supporting this piece of business.
Thank you. Council Blair, then Council Holmes?
If you would give me a little leeway.
Yes,
I mean, I wasn't here for the committee meeting.
sure.
I am adamantly against this. I myself was in a small business for years, 55 to be exact. And it was a lot easier in business 55 years ago than it is today. Costs are rising. For small businesses to survive today, they need every dime they can get. I think this would be adversely affect our small businesses in Attleboro, our small package stores. And to me, it makes no sense. Councilor DeSimone stated that she even thought it should be taken care of at the state level, not here. Well, should be taken care of at the state level. I feel the same way. I don't know what was brought up at committee, so indulge me a little.
Sure.
I look around the city and I see these package stores that would really be adversely affected. Briggs Corner, for one. People can't buy it there. They're going to go to Rehoboth, which you can almost see the liquor store from Briggs Corner. The nip bottles that are bought there are definitely, if they're bought there because they can't buy them at Briggs Corner, they're going to be dropped in the same place, basically. They're going to come back to Attleboro. So I don't think you're correcting the trash end of it at all. You've got County Square's going to be affected. Those people are going to go right to the Pawtucket line down Lower County Street. You're still going to see the plastic trash. South Attleboro liquor stores, they're going to go across into Pawtucket and buy, and we're still going to see it. Cumberland, that's that section of South Attleboro, they're going to go to Cumberland and buy, and the trash is still going to be thrown on the streets in Attleboro. North Main Street is going to move right up Commonwealth Ave to where the old registry is. There's a new liquor store up there. They're going to be bought up there. The trash is going to be back in Attleboro. So you're not eliminating that. Till you get the state to put a hefty deposit on deposit type things, beer cans, shot bottles, you're not going to see that trash go away. Furthermore, let me get myself in order here. I went over this afternoon myself at home. My wife was tired of me talking, but if you do away with the shot bottles, because they're plastic, and the liquor comes out with glass, what have you accomplished without that deposit on those bottles? Furthermore, I think you're going to increase drinking, driving and drinking, by doing away with that. If a person's going to buy shot bottles, nip bottles, and drink them and throw them out because he doesn't want his wife to see them, basically, he don't want to take them back in the house and throw them in the trash, you're going to see pint bottles. And what happens to the pint bottle? You don't take that ounce and a half and drink it. You chug-a-lug a little bit more, and the first thing you know, you're down in pint bottles, or half-pint bottles. And they're glass, most of them. Those get thrown out at the street. Not only are they trash, but they're a hazard. Tires, broken glass, injuries. I don't think there's merit at this point to locally take away from a small business the opportunity for a 10, 20, 25% net profit and take away an article that they can sell, and they sell rapidly. You take away 10, 15, 20% of a net profit, some of these businesses can't survive. They can't hire help at this point. Everybody knows a help problem out there. There's no such thing as minimum wage help anymore, right? You start off at McDonald's at $18 an hour, they're telling me, $17 or $18 an hour, and they can't get enough help. I think it's grossly unfair, this motion. Grossly unfair to the people we're supposed to represent. Not only do we represent small interest groups, but we represent this city as a whole, especially small businesses and people that made this city what it is today. I won't be supporting it, and I would hope my fellow councilors think hard and fast before they do support it, because it's against all principle that I was brought up with. And I believe, truthfully, it belongs at the state level. We are only signaling ourselves out, and we're being very blind to the fact that these nip bottles won't be bought somewhere else and still thrown on the streets of Attleboro. The only way to stop it is with a hefty deposit on those particular items. Beer bottles, beer cans, any of that stuff. That bottle bill is so old, it's out of date. So it's time for the state to step up to the plate and make it right. And that alone will clean up some of the trash. Thank you for the indulgence.
Yep.
I just felt I wasn't here.
Yep.
And I had asked Ms. DeSimone not to bring it in while I was out. Well, I had a back operation. You don't come back from that right away. I had visions that I'd be running around in 2 weeks. I don't have those visions anymore. Right? It's probably going to be a couple of 3 months before I get back to, and I won't be running. I got a slow crawl right there. And
I appreciate your sentiments, Councilor Blair.
and that's a long way from where I started 2 weeks ago. So,
Okay.
but I got a long way to go.
Well, thank you, and appreciate your sentiments. Councilor Holmes, Councilor Angelo.
I appreciate including the better bottle bill and then Chapter 94. My only question is that if this passes and the state makes a change to those, now it's built into our ordinance, I guess what would happen with that?
Well, I guess it depends. Oh, may I respond?
Yep.
Okay. Well, for our purposes, or at least for mine, which is the way I wrote the amendment, that I want two things to happen, whether they happen through what's been called the better bottle bill or some other version of it, which has no name or whatever. The result I'm hoping for is that NIPs are now included in the bottle bill, and that all redeemable items in the bottle bill, the redemption value is at least 10 cents. So that can come in any shape, Councilor Holmes, but those two things to me are what needs to happen to support the adoption of this. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilor Angelo.
Thank you, President DeLucio. I've spoken to several about, one convenience store in particular told me that he'd be losing $40,000 in sales per year, along with $135,000 profit of other items that would go along with people buying nips and everything. And if this was to happen, he would end up having to have layoffs, and I don't want to do that. I appreciate the hard work that Councilor DeSimone has put into all this, and I do echo the sentiments of someday all these single-use plastics will be gone, and I would love to see that. I just don't want to. I'm not prepared to use the local liquor stores and convenience stores as a carrot to get the state to get rid of this, and I echo some of sentiments of Councilor Blair as well too. I live near Briggs Corner, and I very rarely drink, so I don't really have nothing in the fight for this aside from sticking up for some of my people in my ward and stuff. And And I do find more, I do get nips in my yard. I do get that. I pick them up. But I do find more scratch tickets than I do anything. And I think it's more of people are just going to litter, unfortunately. So if it's either a nip bottle or if it's going to be a half pint or a pint, I don't know. I really don't know what size these alcohol bottles come in. But whatever that might be, I think it's just, it's going to be something else that's going to get littered. But I would love to see all the plastics all gone. I hope that day comes someday. But I just I'm not ready to use our convenience stores and liquor stores to help to try to stop this. I'm not ready for that yet.
Okay. Thank you. Council Reynolds, then Council DeSimone.
So, first I want to just say that I appreciate Councilor DeSimone immensely. She does an exorbitant amount of work on all of the things that she chooses to fight some kind of a battle over. So I'm impressed by her work ethic. Unfortunately, and I've thought it over greatly, but I have a lot of businesses in South Attleboro that this affects. On the North Attleboro line, on the Rhode Island line, Pawtucket, Cumberland. I just can't escape it. I just can't escape it. And it would be, I believe, unfair at this moment in time. If the state does it and it affects everyone, well, that would be different. But even for South Attleboro, if the state finally did it, that doesn't mean Rhode Island's not going to continue what they're doing. You know, I'm not willing to cripple the liquor stores in my area for another year or 2 years until they make the decision to do whatever they have to do, and maybe at that time Rhode Island would do it too. So as much as I appreciate the work and her tenacity, I just, for me and as a Ward 1 councilor, I just cannot do it.
Thank you, Council Reynolds. Councilor DeSimone, Councilor Bennett, and then Vice President Cole.
So I just want to acknowledge my fellow councilors stating their opinion, which I understand and I respect, and I may be foolishly naive, but to me this is a force multiplier. What I'm trying to do is incentivize the liquor stores and their clients, or patrons, customers, whatever you want to call it, to make some phone calls and knock on some doors to make some change. Why are we sitting here making this difficult decision? We need people to call, register their opinion, vote, and make it happen. So, respectfully, I understand what you're saying, but you know, nothing changes until something changes. What I'm trying to do is multiply forces here, to actually put us all together on the same team and make it happen, not to punish any particular group. Because I understand what you're saying, but ultimately, at the end of the day, change has to start somewhere, and I'm just a little bit frustrated right now, as we've discussed privately, Council Reynolds, with the government. We are the government. So let's try to do things differently, and let's try to get something done. That's what I'm trying to do, and I'm naive maybe in thinking that other people might make phone calls and knock on doors. But that's what it takes to make change, so thank you very much.
Great. Councilor Bennett.
I think passing local legislation that's contingent on inactivity and inaction by the state is not responsible for us and for our small businesses. I think it puts them at a massive disadvantage, as my colleagues have said. I think this is a good cause. I just think we can't take it up here at the local level. We'd be sacrificing our local businesses, their strength in our local community, in the larger regional community. It will disadvantage not only them, but will also put other potential businesses in a position to not choose Attleboro in the future based on this. And I think we're surrounded by communities and towns that maybe would like to see something like this, but they're also waiting for action by the state. I think we should call. I think everybody at home should call the state. Call your state legislators, call your state reps, and tell them that this better bottle bill needs to pass or something needs to be done at the state level. I think that's where this action needs to happen. Thank you.
Vice President Kobus.
I have two small amendments that I'd like to try to make. The first one is to 7-18.6 to change it from January 1st, 2023 to June 1st, 2023, as Councilor DeSimone had mentioned.
Second.
Thank you. Any comments?
And this is just the Better Bottle Bill talks about, I think it still lists January 1st, 2021 as the effective date. So This would give the bill some time to take effect. So just trying to maximize that. And if this is to pass, I'd like to maximize the potential of this going away and not being a Attleboro specific thing. So that's all.
Any additional questions, comments, concerns on the amendment to change it from January 2023 to June 1st of 2023? Councilor Waterman.
The only question I would have, because I was going to offer a similar amendment, was maybe June 30th, so we complete the fiscal year.
That's. I would be open to that. So, mind if I amend the amendment, or
We can take that as a friendly amendment.
friendly amendment and make it the 30th?
Second. Do we need to- I don't know.
Any questions on the additional comments on this amendment? Vice President Cobus, I'd like to give up the seat.
President Delicio.
Thank you. Councilor DeSimone, you and I have had several conversations on this, and I appreciate the hard work as it's been relayed earlier this evening. Fundamentally, I have severe issues with this. It was less than a year ago that we sat here and we voted this down. And we said to the liquor store owners, do something. And they're doing something. They have their bounty on nips. They've donated to local cleanups. To sit here and to say that, you know, we're waiting for the state to do something, we're government. Well, what has this body done to partner with our colleagues in the state? Shouldn't that be something before we go to a ban? To be cavalier and say, you know what, we just need to get rid of this, and I know it's going to impact businesses. This is what I've heard. I'm not saying anyone here. I don't know many people who can take a $20,000 to $30,000 a year decrease in their salary right now. And that's what would happen to the local distributors who are friends, neighbors, coach our kids. We said a year ago we would give these folks time to do something. They're doing something. And we're right back here again. It's irresponsible. It's not fair. And I think that sends the wrong message again to the businesses in the city. We need to give them time to do what it is they need to do. They know their business better than we do. And you know what? I've heard from probably some of the same business owners that have been referred here tonight. They're trying to do it. And what their ask isn't don't ban it. It's give us more time to work on this. And I think that's what we need to do. If we're sitting here in January and June and the state's still not doing anything, then maybe we collaborate and we figure out how do we get something done. But in this day and age, to impact these businesses negatively after we gave them less than a year to put something together is irresponsible, and I cannot vote in favor of anything that's going to hurt these small businesses right now. Thank you.
President Delicio.
Thank you, Vice President Cobus. Councilor Angelo.
Just one quick thing. I did notice that, say at Briggs Corner, they have a bucket outside to collect nips, and I
Point of
haven't-
order. We're talking about the amendment still? The amendment's changed the
Yep, I
date.
understand. So if you can hold your thought, I'll call on you once we get back to the motion as amended. Thank you. Any additional comments, questions on the amendment to change the effective date from January 1st, 2023 to June 30th of 2023? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Okay, now to the motion as amended. Vice President Cobus.
And I had a second amendment to make, and that's to section 7-18.6, paragraph B, to delete everything after defined thereunder, and which currently reads, and the refund value of a beverage container is increased to not less than 10 cents. And so this
Is there a
would-
second? Thank you, Councilor Holmes. And Vice President Cobus.
And this would just change it to read Chapter 94, Section, or this is talking about, this wouldn't take effect unless one or both of the following circumstances occur prior to said date. And the second item there is Massachusetts general laws are amended such that plastic bottles, nips, are within the category of beverage containers defined thereunder, and not necessarily that the refund value is increased to 10 cents.
Additional questions, comments, concerns on the amendment to remove the language "and the refund of a beverage container is increased to not less than 10 cents"? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Hey,
Hey,
Yay.
So, motion passes. Okay, we're back to the motion as amended. Vice President Cobus, you,
That was all.
okay? Mr. Angelo?
just as I was saying, at Briggs Corner, they have a bucket outside to collect the nips, and hopefully that stops it, helps stop it with some of the litter too as well. And I can't say for others, but hopefully they have, or they see that well too, and that is helping that. Like I said, I think people littering are gonna litter.
Thank you. Additional questions, thoughts, comments? Council Waterman?
I just want to applaud the liquor companies in this city and the work that they have done this year to try to contain this nip problem. And they deserve to be thanked for that. And one of the reasons I wanted to push this off till June 30th was hope that would give us time to work with them to talk to our state reps and our state senators and try to get this bottle bill done this year.
Council Blair?
can I make a suggestion talking about state reps and state senators? Would it behoove us to ask for them to come to this council and put a little pressure on them? To, pardon the expression, get off their butts and get something done?
Yeah, I mean, at any time we can. Are you suggesting, I think
I mean,
if you're suggesting, we table this discussion,
no,
I
I'm not
wouldn't want to.
I'm not suggesting we
Okay.
table it. But after tonight, I hope we vote it down, but we just don't vote it down and let it sit that way. It's not gonna get done unless we, as a group, and some citizens of Attleboro, get on the horn and put some pressure on these state reps and state senators. Councilor DeSimone and I worked on something now for a year.
Yep.
And we can't get them to move. It's a simple measure we're looking to put forward. It makes common sense. But they're worried about the next election worse than anybody here is. So we got to pin them up against the wall if we're going to get anything done, or try to.
Thank you, Council.
End of my comments. Quote, Mr. Conti.
Additional comments, questions, concerns? Councilor Bennett?
Just one really quick. I just don't want our local businesses here in Attleboro to get the stick in this carrot or stick equation. I think that's really important that they not be on the receiving end of this.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will have a roll call vote on the motion, beginning with Councilor Waterman.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
No.
Ms. Bennett?
No.
Vice President Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Reynolds?
No.
Mr. Angelo?
No.
Ms. DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
No.
President Delicio?
No.
5 yeas, 6 nays.
Motion fails.
Thank you. That concludes the business of the Ordinance, Elections, and Legislative Matters Committee for this evening. And we look forward to a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Before we move on to Councilor Angelo, thank you for your hard work on that. Certainly not easy, but you handled it professionally and with grace and dignity, so thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Angelo?
Thank you, President Delicio. I call Personnel Veterans Human Services Order at 7:48. From the docket of August 16th, 2022, I move to approve the following transfers to fund a new grade 23 position in elections. $1,750 from account election commission salary wages part-time to account election commission salary wages. $3,000 from account election commission salary elections to account election commission salary wages. $15,600 from account citywide reserve for transfer to account election commission salary and wages.
Second.
Thank you, Vice President Cobus. Motion is in order. Any comments?
Yeah, we talked about this last time in committee. I also, and we had Leslie and Mr. Spatzer come down and speak as well. I also spoke with Cheryl Perry, who we all know was in the Elections Commission for several years, and she had said it would be very helpful to the office with new state laws in effect with early voting, vote by mail, also with the new mandate on automatic voter registration. So basically, we're taking someone from a part-time position and just basically making it full-time, as that person's already working full-time already. And that's all I have to say.
Additional questions, thoughts, concerns? Councilor DeSimone.
Thank you, President DeLucio. I don't want to reiterate everything I said last time, but I support this position, although not, it wasn't easy, but I support it for a couple of reasons. I appreciate, as I've said, I appreciate that government grows by accretion. That's not always the most effective way to go. It's not always the ideal way to go. And as you and I know, coming later, there's business related to that. However, I came around to this for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm a firm believer in trusting the experts, and people who run their departments know best, hopefully, right, what they need and what they need to do. Number two, I reached out to Leslie with several questions, and she graciously and thoughtfully answered my questions in a timely manner to the best of her ability. Her answers were, lengthy. I appreciate the fact that she and Mr. Spatzer came down to answer our questions directly. It's the nature of this position, if you will, that also sways me in support, because, things dealing with election, these are hard and fast dates. These aren't things that you can put off for a week or two, and you can get in some big problems if things don't happen the way they should happen. And the thing that really put me over the edge is what I mentioned at the last meeting, was that I reached out to the Taunton Elections Office and spoke to Pamela Manconi. And I'll just repeat this for our colleagues who weren't here last week. The city of Taunton, as of right now, employs 4 full-time people in their elections office to service 37,000 registered voters. Attleboro, we have 32,000 registered voters, and we're looking to increase to a staff of 3. And Pamela at Taunton said she would like to add, she's requesting, I think, 2 positions, and would ideally like to have more. They're swamped. So this isn't just something that I'm listening to, Leslie upstairs, and we know Leslie, and no. I've got objective evidence here, outside evidence, to support everything that she and Mr. Spatzer told us, that they're swamped right now with the changes imposed by the state and federal governments, which are great changes, but there's a price to those changes, so, and we have to foot the bill for them, but it is nonetheless very important work that they do. So that's why I'm supporting this piece of business. Thank you.
Councilor Blair.
Just like I say, I wasn't here in August. We have a part-time employer up there now.
Yes.
It's going to go to full-time. Does that employer work less than 20 hours a week?
No, right now that person is basically working about 40 hours a week.
Well, the reason I asked that is she's working 20 hours a week, she's not getting benefits. If you increase it to 21, 22, whatever it is, they get benefits. So it's not on it. If it's a cost factor, factor that in your decision. If it's a work factor, and Cheryl Perry really stands out to me as a dedicated city employee, and I take her concerns, her answers to heart. So I will be supporting it. I just, where it isn't really a complete full-time employee, it made a difference in my decision, and that decision was made tonight. with the knowledge that I got that it was a part-time position being put over to a full-time position, so.
Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Council Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone.
Yes.
Mr. Angelo.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Vice President Cobus.
Yes.
Ms. Bennett.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
President Delicio.
No.
10 yeas, 1 nay.
Thank you, motion passes. Mr. Angelo?
Oh, I'm sorry. That concludes the business for Personnel, Veterans, Human Services, and I call for a meeting at the next available time, the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Council Reynolds?
The City Property and Claims has no business this evening, but I would like to call for a committee at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Council Holmes?
Thank you. Zoning and land use has no business this evening, but we'll call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Vice President Cobus?
Thank you. Reporting for the IT and Infrastructure Committee, I have one piece of business tonight. From the docket of September 6, 2022, I move to transfer $7,344.84 from account Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account Park Professional Services for funds to install security cameras at the Balfour River Walk.
Second.
Thank you, Council Holmes. Motion is in order. Any comments?
This is to fund cameras at the Balfour River Walk, and President Delicio, I think if you remember when we were doing the 10-mile river cleanup, there were a number of needles that were found over in that area. There's a lot of drug use and stuff that happens in that area that these cameras will hopefully help mitigate. So I am enthusiastically supporting this and encourage everyone else to support it as well.
Thank you. Any additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Council Waterman.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Ms. Bennett.
Yes.
Vice President Cobus.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds. Mr. Angelo.
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Delicio.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
That concludes the business for the IT and Infrastructure Committee, and I call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you, Council Bennett.
Transportation and Traffic has no business this evening. I call for a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you, Council Conti.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Finance Committee has 4 motions to bring before the council this evening. The first, from the docket of September 6, 2022, I move to transfer $10,700.52 from the citywide maintenance of buildings to the citywide air conditioning unit to replace a 3-ton air conditioning unit at the Odds Hill Radio Tower. Upon approval of this transfer, an account correction will be made on the purchase order.
Second.
Thank you, Vice President Cobus. Council Conti, motion is in order.
If you think that you did not like the recent heat wave, electronics hated it even more. I don't think I have to say anything more.
Well stated. We'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Council Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone.
Yes.
Mr. Angelo.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Vice President Cobus.
Yes.
Ms. Bennett.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
President Delicio.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
From the docket of September 6, 2022, I move to authorize the Council on Aging to pay a fiscal year 22 payment to Constellation in the amount of $48.22. No transfer is required.
Second.
Thank you, Vice President Cobus. Motion is in order. Any questions or comments?
I would encourage my counselor to vote in the approval.
Additional
That
questions?
concludes my comments.
Thank you. Very brief tonight, Council.
Yes, I am.
Additional questions, comments, concerns from the council? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Mr. Waterman.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Ms. Bennett.
Yes.
Vice President Cobus.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Mr. Angelo.
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Delicio.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. President. From the docket of September 6, 2022, I move to authorize Park and Forestry to pay a fiscal year 22 invoice to Apple Photo Booth, Inc. in the amount of $164.59 and a fiscal year 22 invoice to LaRusso Corporation in the amount of $2,585.59. No transfer is required.
Second.
Thank you, Vice President Cobus. Any comments, Council Conti?
I would encourage my councilors to approve this motion, and that concludes my comments.
Thank you. Seeing no other comments or hands raised, we'll have a roll call vote beginning with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Vice President Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. President. From the docket, September 6, 2022, I move to transfer $604.41 from the Citywide Reserve Fund for Transfer account to the Citywide Bills from Previous Years account in order to pay a fiscal year 22 invoice to Eastern Supply Company in the amount of $57.55 and a fiscal year 22 invoice to Rico in the amount of $55.21 and a fiscal year 22 invoices to Shred It in the amount of $491.65.
Second.
Thank you, Vice President Cobus. Councilor Conti.
I would encourage my councilors to vote in the affirmative, and that concludes my comments.
Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote beginning with Councilor Waterman.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Vice President Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. President. That's all the business that the Finance Committee has to bring before the council this evening. We look for a meeting at the next appropriate time. Next week, I will try to attend remotely if that's possible. And on 9/20, I will be engaging my fellow committee members into a discussion on the new stabilization policy, the new debt policy, the new free cash policy, and the new budget policy.
So just a reminder, 9:20 is a full council meeting.
Oops, then it'll be 9/27.
Thank you, Councilor Conti.
It's gonna be an exciting night.
Councilor Dolan.
Public Works has no business this evening. We look forward to a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Councilor Waterman.
And the License Committee has no business, and we'll meet at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. We have no old business tonight. We have four pieces of new business for which I will recognize Councilor Bennett.
Okay. 2 items for this evening. The first, I move to have the following new business assigned for study and recommendation to restrict parking to one side of Frank Mossberg Drive.
Second.
Thank you. Any comments?
Yep, there was some communication that came in that showed that when there's parking on both sides of the road, it makes it very difficult for emergency vehicles to come in. I think a little bit of additional study, potentially referral to Traffic Study Commission would be warranted here.
Excellent. So all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We will refer that to traffic as well as traffic study. Councilor Bennett.
I move to have the following new business assigned for study and recommendation, amend section 10-4.11 of the revised ordinances, isolated stop signs by adding eastbound drivers on Jefferson Street at 5th Street.
Second.
Thank you, Vice President Cobus. Councilor Bennett.
So this is an odd, anybody familiar with this area up by Rathmore Drive where Dennis Street is and 5th kind of intersects. It's sort of a Y-shaped intersection. And what we're noticing with the new high school traffic is that cars are going, mainly students, it could be faculty as well, leaving the school, going at a pretty good clip down Rathmore Drive, and as they're coming up, they go straight onto Jefferson. And there's no stop sign and there's no mechanism for them to stop. There are stop signs on 5th. There are stop signs on the other side of Jefferson, but at that point in the Y, it just goes straight through. And so it's creating some issues and some safety concerns for those intersections and the crosswalks in that area. So this is just proposing a stop sign be added for that location to make it a multi-way stop.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
We'll refer that to traffic and the traffic study
Thank
committee
you.
as well. We will now recognize Councilor DeSimone and Councilor Dolan.
Thank you, President Delicio. I move to have the following new business assigned for study and recommendation, that Attleboro adopt an inclusionary zoning ordinance as a means of increasing the supply of housing that is available and affordable to low or moderate income households with an emphasis on family housing and preventing the displacement of Attleboro residents, and this is referred to in Goal 11, Policy 3 of the Comprehensive Plan.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Holmes. Any comments?
Yeah, it's just continuing on a theme that I'm on this session, which is promoting and supporting the accessory dwelling, all things housing. You know, we talk a lot about these market rate apartments, et cetera, but there's a gap, I think, developing here. in terms of affordable, and that, by that I mean both the legal government definition of affordable and affordable in a general sense. This is something I've reached out to Gary and Catherine about to begin the conversation, but I fully understand, and for those who may be familiar with this, inclusionary zoning is basically when you revise your zoning and require such that developers looking to seek to do certain developments are mandated to include for sale or rent a certain number of units at an affordable rent. It can sometimes be controversial, but I don't know, and I don't know where we're going to land. What I'm putting this on in the business, if you will, to get it on people's minds and to encourage the conversation, because I think it's going to be a lengthy one. It's going to entail listening to other departments and public input as well about where we land here. But it's a conversation that's probably overdue, and I think it's timely right now with everything happening with rents. So,
Councilor Conti.
So, I think the state mandates that our goal is 10% affordable housing, and I don't know where we are in that. So I'm supporting this because this is a very good example of what you're looking to do on Water Street. Water Street is along a river, and there's a big industrial building there, used to be called Standard Plastics, and to the left of the building are 13 condominiums that were built on a parcel of land with a shoehorn. And the reason why is because 3 of the units are affordable housing. And so there's 10 market rate and 3 affordable housing, and everybody's happy. Yeah. So, there's a bright future for this and a dire need.
Agreed.
I see it every day. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We'll assign that to zoning and land use. And Councilor DeSimone.
President, do you want to read this one, President Felicity?
You can.
Okay. I move to have the following new business assigned for study and recommendation: to create an Attleboro Municipal Council Special Committee on Classification and Compensation, with the focus to better understand current hiring challenges facing the city of Attleboro, with the end result being to ensure the effective, efficient, and high-quality delivery of city services through ensuring Attleboro is competitive in classification and compensation with surrounding communities. As part of this committee, the Personnel Director shall be asked to provide a report to the Council about the current compensation and classification plan, the number and nature of current position vacancies, and the length of those vacancies, projected retirements within the next year, and recruitment strategies to fill current and future openings.
Second.
Thank you, Vice President Corbus. Councilor DeSimone, any comments on this?
Briefly, so this is an issue that I know President Delicio, and others, perhaps as we were sitting listening to the budget hearings, and in various departments need positions and need help. It's also in light of recent articles that are not only pertaining to the general issue of finding employment, but municipalities are really struggling to find staff. And lastly, from what I understand, talking to some people on current staff, it's been a while, I guess, since the city has reviewed its classification and compensation plan. So it feels very timely right now with the economic and the employment market that we're in. And I know, President Delicio, you and I share this theme. And again, it emphasizes government does grow by accretion. We need to know where we are. And we need this snapshot desperately, so when we're evaluating positions like the one we just approved, we have a better context in which to evaluate them, because it's just a piece of a bigger puzzle. So it's not just about that department; it's about the larger puzzle. So I'm happy to be offering this business with you.
Same here. Thank you. And I'll just add to that, kind of from a different side of the fence. Shocker, right? Yeah. But that was a big part of my no vote earlier. Is we need to understand what's coming down. We need to be able to plan. We need to look at rapid response teams. Where do we have shared services? The elections are busy, seasonally, not to take away from the important work they're doing, but there are other areas in the city, other departments that need additional help. Why are we losing good people to other communities? So this is part of why this is important to me, and that ends my comments. Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, before we get going, I would like to announce all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. So I will refer that to the Special Committee on Classification and Compensation, which will be chaired by Councilor Angelo as the Personnel and Human Veterans Chair. Councilor DeSimone will sit on that committee, and I'd like to ask Vice President Kobus to sit on that as well.
Sounds good.
Thank you. That being said, got a lot done in a short amount of time tonight, friends. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. We adjourned at 8:09. Good night and welcome back.